Hello everyone and welcome back. Today's video is a bit hectic and fairly short, but that's because it all took place in just one day. If you've seen my previous video, you know that my friend Josh recently flew out west to visit us.
Hey guys.
Hey, we're just out here hunting meese. What are you doing?
And we had an amazing time taking photos along the coast, but we had one extra day before he had to fly back. And after wrestling with this idea for a while, we decided to just go for it and make a day trip all the way to the North Cascades and back to do some sightseeing and hike a trail that we've had our eye on for quite some time. It's about 4 hours from our house to the trailhead, so we were in for a full day with no time to spare. The route from Eastern Washington takes you through a lot of rolling hills and farmland with only a few small towns sprinkled in. We stopped at one point to let Carl do his business and stretch out our legs for a few minutes, and I took the opportunity to take some photos of the area and get some reps in behind the camera before the main event of the day later on. Oh, and I thought this tree looks like a dog's face. The wind was picking up, and you might be able to tell from this footage, but we were already starting to worry about the wildfire smoke causing some visibility issues for us. The sky had this eerie yellow haze to it, and we weren't even in the mountains yet. Either way, we walked the streets of the town for a little while, grabbed a bite to eat, and continued along our route. On the route, we drove past this field with horses and mountains in the backdrop, so we pulled over and I snagged this photo. I wanted more of the horses to lift their heads up and waited for them to move, but this was the best they gave me. We hit a few more overlooks and quick stops along the way to the trailhead, and I suppose this would be a good time to mention gear for this trip. Jillian filmed a lot of the B-roll on the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, and because of our decently long hike and sort of relaxed nature of our agenda, I decided to only bring along my Fujifilm X100 on this day trip. I wanted to keep my bag as light as possible. Later on, I actually ended up regretting that decision just a little bit, and I had to find a workaround for a few compositions, but I'll talk more about that when we get there. By the time we made it to Diablo Lake, which is sort of like right in the heart of the Cascades, the presence of wildfire smoke was pretty intense, and there were active fires still burning pretty close by. I took a few shots here, but really liked playing with this underexposure to sort of dramatize the scene and add some atmosphere. The winds were getting really strong, which unfortunately contributed to the rapid growth of the fires in the area. You could even see helicopters carrying water from nearby lakes over the mountains. About a half hour later, we arrived at the trailhead, which was our final stop of the day, to hike up to a remote alpine lake and grab some photos, hopefully at sunset.
on the. Please tell me you're getting this.
I am.
Oh, this is perfect.
It just flew underneath my tongue. When we made it to the top, I raised my camera to take the first shot, and this is the result. See, the thing about the 35mm equivalent focal length, which is definitely my favorite and what I use the most across all camera systems, whether it be film or digital, and I've even made videos about it in the past, is that when you're in this giant mountainous landscape, sometimes it's just simply not wide enough to fit the entire scene. In this case, there was no way for me to step farther back and keep the composition proper. This was it, I was stuck. So desperate times call for desperate measures. I manually set focus on the mountain, stood still, and proceeded to take 10 to 12 images, sort of pivoting left, right, up, and down, and leaving some overlap in between, and then merged them all in Lightroom. I was pleasantly surprised to see that it worked out pretty well and ended up being one of my favorite images of the entire trip. Lesson learned though, as much as I love weight savings when I'm hiking, and that matters, having a lens wide enough for the landscape also matters, arguably even more. The one advantage of this stitching method versus using a wide-angle lens is that it can come out with a bit more compression effect and also a lot less distortion. Albeit it's very inconvenient and you really can't see your exact composition in real time, so not ideal overall. But speaking of Lightroom, I want to take a minute to talk about the sponsor of this video, me. All of the images in this video were shot in RAW and processed using my photo editing preset system for Lightroom. It's designed to work with RAW files from any of the major camera manufacturers and comes with 8 Lightroom presets, 4 dynamic range adjustments, 3 film grain settings including 35mm and 120, 3 sharpening settings, a user manual with installation and workflow instructions, a reference guide thoroughly documenting the design and intended use case of each look, and a video walkthrough and demonstration of how I approach editing using this system. My goal with this system was to be able to have my digital photos mesh well with my film photography in my portfolio because I shoot both, and also give you guys the tools to understand what goes into creating the looks. So if you're interested in learning more about this system, check the link in the description below or visit my website at dylanspitz.com. Okay, back to the video. As the sun went down, I got a bit separated from Josh and Jillian. I went across or around the lake and I actually ended up rounding a corner right in front of a mountain goat and its baby. I snagged a few photos of them while having the silent shutter on, and I sort of stood really still and kept a safe distance as far as I could from them just so I didn't bother or startle them. And Josh actually even got this footage of them from across the lake, which is kind of cool. But they stayed there for quite a while, so I ended up moving farther away from them up the rocks and just observed them sort of in this landscape. And man, it was amazing. I was just sitting on this large rock for like 15 minutes in complete awe of the scene in front of me. And eventually they turned towards me and walked directly past me, almost to say like, hey, thanks for being cool, like, have a great night. And then they just went off into the mountains, just right past me up the rocks. So pretty amazing experience.
Ooh, I got a Ricola. Does anyone want a Ricola? I got multiple. that would hit up here, dude. Are you kidding me?
After I.
On our way down, the colors just really started to pop in the sky, so we took quite a few images as it got dark. our headlamps on, we made the trek down quicker than normal because we were all just a little bit scared, a little spooked by the forest at night. We were the only ones out there, and yeah, that was it. Once we made it to the car, we turned around to drive home for another 4 hours, which got us back to Spokane at like 2 a.m. or something. We were totally spent, but it was 100% worth it. Less than ideal conditions with all of the smoke, of course. The visibility was bad, but my experience with the goats and in that landscape were well worth it. I feel very lucky to have been able to just sit and soak that in for a while. Anyways, that's all for this one. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.